Hello and welcome back to BRG Kerbal Space Program Career Mode, Beginner's Guide, stroke, all the other wonderful things that I've decided it's going to be. Shouldn't really be a beginner's guide because technically I'm probably still a beginner, but anyway we're going to go a little bit further. And the first thing we're going to do is head into our research and development and spend the wonderful science we earned from the last episodes. So here we have the next tier, the two items available. They both cost 5 science. We have enough to get them both. You click on the one that you want to have a look at, and over here it will tell you the parts and all the relevant information about them. So as you hover over them, you can see here that this is the LVT-30 Reliant liquid fuel engine. This is an engine that requires fuel tanks, as before we use a solid rocket booster, this time this engine will use a fuel tank. And here is a fuel tank. So put the two together and we shall have a rocket which we can control the thrust of and other kinds of things that we will get to later on in the episode. And the next one is engineering. It gives us another cockpit. It gives us a science junior bay, which is another science experiment. It gives us a communitron, which is an antenna, which I vaguely mentioned in my previous video about transmitting data back to Kerbal. So if it's all going to go wrong or you get stuck out in the atmosphere, you can at least get back some of the science that you collected. You won't get it all because you're transmitting, but either way we'll go ahead and buy these two. So yeah, we've got the bigger solid fuel booster, the liquid oxidizer engine, the fuel tank, which we'll buy, and then here we have the decoupler, which is the other thing I didn't mention, and we'll have a look at what that does. So we've gone ahead and we've got those. We still have 23 science left, and the next ones will open up. The next tier obviously opens up more parts. One for survivability, so we've got side mounted radial parachutes, we've got a heat shield, we've got a service bay which is new to the game. This is part of the 1.0 release patch. Those of you cute enough will have noticed that I actually said 0.10 when I did my first video. This is 1.0. This is the full game. And now it's kind of a tough call for me because we only need to escape the atmosphere for the next mission, which I accidentally took without recording, so sorry about that. And that's the next mission we're going to do. Escaping the atmosphere, piece of cake, big rocket, send it up there and get it back again. The heat shield, because heat generation as you enter the atmosphere is now an issue, I'm almost reluctant to go ahead and try an atmosphere, or tried to escape the atmosphere without it, so I'm going to take the heat shield as opposed to anything else. So we'll come out of there, back into the VAB, and we will create our next rocket. I'm going to stick with this command pod. Do you know what? No, I won't. We'll use this one. Why not? No, we won't. And the reason we won't is because we can't mount a parachute to it, because yes we can, because I got the right parachutes. Yes, we'll go ahead and use a different command pod, why not? Looks a bit different. So on there we've got the command pod. Directly underneath it we will place, I thought it had been in the heat shield, would have been in there. Structural heat shield, no. Engines, pods, where's the heat shield? Did I not get the heat shield? Did I really pick the wrong one? I could have sworn we had a heat shield. There it is, in aerodynamics. Okay, yeah, aerodynamics, I guess that kind of makes sense. So we'll place the heat shield directly underneath there, so that this will be the only thing that enters back into the atmosphere. This will be the only unit which will have our Kerbal in it. We will put some scientific experiments on it, because we want to collect some science from outside of the atmosphere. We'll use the X key to add another part as we're adding them to it, and we'll keep them at the angle snap so they're nice and symmetrical. So we'll put those on in utility. We'll get 2 of these as well, so we'll pop 2 of the parachutes on. These are side mounted parachutes, obviously the one I did last time connected to the top. We'll use the side mounted ones for this mission, and that is the base of what we want to return. Now under structural we unlock the decoupler is the word, Ben. Come on fella. Right, so we'll click that on there, and we now have a decoupler. What that means is that once the rocket stage is, when we get to the final stage, we'll decouple everything off it, and this is all that will fall back down to the planet Kerbal. And now obviously it's a lot less mass than anything else we take up, which is always a good thing. So let's start building the rocket. I'm just thinking we'll just do a normal single stage rocket. So I'll put the first fuel tank on here. If you hold down Alt and click on it again, you can select it again. Now if I was to hold Alt and click on this one, I'd get one more. Don't want to do that. Going to click here, the top one, press Alt, and it won't do anything. That's strange. Hold down Alt, click that. There we go. It will then copy what you've got. So there we've got 4 fuel tanks there. I think we'll go for another 2. So we'll put that down there, and that's that done. And then we will pop on our Reliant liquid fuel engine. Now this engine, let's just right click on it. It doesn't gimbal, and that means it doesn't have a massive amount of control over where the thrust. This little bit here, the exhaust for the rocket, on some of the other engines will move, so you get a lot better control over your spacecraft while it's in the air. This one doesn't do that because it's one of the first stage ones, but not really a problem. We'll we'll go for this. We'll see what we can do. I think we're quite happy to launch like that. So we've got first stage rocket fires, second stage will decouple, so everything down here will come off, and then the final stage will be the parachute opening. We only need to escape the atmosphere. I'm going to name this rocket the Honorati, because he was my first friend to like the BRG Banner Rules Gaming page on Facebook. It is out there. Yeah, if you want to like it. If you don't. Not the end of the world. I'm doing this for me, not for anybody else. I've just been watching videos for years, and I've decided it's finally time for me to do it. So this is where we are. We'll call it the Honorati Mark 1. So yeah, thanks very much for that, Nick. And yeah, let's save that. I'll see what we'll do. Actually, we'll put an aerial on it as well. We'll stick an aerial on there so that we can have a quick look. And another thing we're going to do, here we go, look, we're going to take that off. We're going to take the decoupler off. As I said in my other video, you can just put things to the side. We're going to put in a junior science bay. We're going to stick that onto there and put that back. That's another scientific experiment we can do, so we'll get a little bit more science from this mission than before. Pop that back in there, and now we're ready to go. It's going to be interesting to see how this launches because of the new aerodynamics. We'll put the aerial right on the tip. That's not on. Okay, that didn't work. I'll tell you what we'll do then. We'll just pop it there like that, so it's on there. I believe they have no mass. Oh, they do now, and they have drag. Right, in that case, what we're going to do is we're going to press X again to have 2 on there to equal it out. So the drag's in the right place. So obviously these are all down the central line. As we're flying through the air, the aerodynamics that are now very present in the game should be quite equal, and it should be easy enough to control. We're going to keep Jebediah Kerman as the pilot because he is a pilot, and I think taking him out of the atmosphere will get him his next bit of XP, and he'll earn his first star, and I can show you what that'll do. So let's go ahead. We save this vessel, and then we stick it out to the launch pad, and let's see what happens. So our second launch of KSP when it eventually loads. I do have the new graphics card in, so it should be a lot smoother, a lot nicer, and the frame will be a lot better. So we're here at the launch pad. Our staging is all correct. We're going to press T again for the stability control. And down here you can see the throttle as it goes up and it goes down. You hold down shift to get it all the way up, and you hold down control to get it to come down again. Or alternatively, press Z for full throttle and X to kill the throttle. So I think we're going to go about 2/3 throttle to start with and see if this will take off. So here we go in 3, 2, 1, and away we go. Spacebar, and we're off. Okay, fantastic. Let's get up and see it. Now obviously the advantage of not using full throttle is the fuel will last longer, so we will get higher up. Now as we are still in the heavy part of Kerbin's atmosphere, the aerodynamics will have more effect, and realistically we don't want to travel too much above 200 meters per second, which you can see I'm already screaming well above. You want to wait until you get out of the first section, which is about 13,000 meters, so that essentially we're not wasting fuel because we're pushing against the atmosphere, we're pushing against all the air, and it will create a massive amount of drag, and we're essentially wasting fuel. That's exactly what we're doing. We're wasting fuel by doing so. I'm at about 250 odd. It's not great, not ideal. But it's not too bad. You can see there's no aerodynamic effects as of yet. We've still got just under half of our fuel left, and we're about to reach... Oh, sorry, no, it seems the atmosphere is a bit lower. You can see here, look, that we're already halfway through the second stage of the atmosphere, and we're still accelerating. Now I'm going to bring it up to full throttle, and hopefully we'll gain enough speed to actually escape the atmosphere. Now I'm going to press M here to change the view. Okay, this goes into map view, and now you can see we have a little line up here, and I have failed this entirely, which is fine. It's not a problem. We didn't have enough fuel to do the mission. Not the end of the world, but what we are going to be able to do is essentially land back down on the planet, a bit far away from where we launched, from the Space Center itself, which means we won't gain as much back in funds as we would have done if we'd have landed closer to it. The closer you land to the Space Center, the more money you get back for the parts that you bring back with you. Now, because this has been a bit of a, well, it's an absolute cock up, what I'm going to do is let it come back down. I'm not going to decouple at all. I'm going to try and bring as much as I can back round. Now, what this is here, this is our trajectory, okay? And this little bit here is what's known as our apoapse, or apoapse as this game calls it. This is the furthest point of our trajectory away from our sphere of influence at the moment, which is Kerbin. So at the moment our apoapse is 58,047. It will fall slightly because we're still inside some of the atmosphere. It's nowhere near as thick, but we're still there, and we're heading towards our apoapsis now. What you're seeing here is that this is moving in this way. Now, it's not any aerodynamic effects that I know of. It might be, actually. I don't think it is. This is the rotation of Kerbin that's bringing this back this way. Obviously Kerbin is rotating from left to right, as we can see it, and that's what we can see here. So what I'm going to do now is jump back into the main view quickly. I'm going to observe the materials bay, because it's a new scientific experiment. Look at that, 22 science. We will keep that data, and I'm going to do a crew report from up in the air, 4.5 science as opposed to the 1.5 we got for when it was on the deck. So yeah, that's fine. That's the tuning experiment. I'm not, I'll do a good canister. I don't think we'll get anything for it. Let's see, 9 science. Wow, okay, we did. Obviously a lot higher up than we were last time. So that's fine. We've got that. I'll do the other one. I don't think it stacks up, but we'll do it anyway. As we'll keep that data. And now normally I'd press spacebar to eject this stage, and then press spacebar again to get the parachutes out. But I want to try and keep hold of this just to get a little bit of extra money back, because I failed the mission. So I'm going to deploy that chute by right clicking on it, and then I'm going to deploy this chute by clicking on it. Now the chutes won't actually deploy until you get back into a certain point inside the atmosphere, and we could have quite an interesting time here, because what could in actual fact happen is we will burn up as we come back through the atmosphere, because we are travelling at over 600 meters a second and rising very rapidly. Re-entry could get us here. This could be the first wonderful mistake from BRG's Gaming. We would have to wait and see. I'm going to time warp it because it's a little bit boring waiting. Oh, there we go. Okay. There was a wonderful example of time warp and the stresses it creates on your rockets. Technically that should have all ripped apart to pieces, but it hasn't. And because our parachutes have deployed, it's slowed us down quite a lot, and I don't even think we're going to get any re-entry heating, which is nice. Now, as you can see, the planet has revolved so much so that we're going to land back on the ground. That could be a problem. We could get a few bits blow up. Fingers crossed the science lab doesn't, because if it does, we will lose that science. We won't be able to keep it. But if we transmit it now, we've lost the data anyway. So I'm going to hedge my bet, and I'm going to guess that we're going to get away with it, and I'm going to time warp us all the way back down to the planet, or to the surface, and see where we get to, and then once we have landed, we will try again. I may cut this bit out of the video, I may not. It's probably quite boring. I know you're just sitting here watching a rocket and 2 parachutes act very, very strangely and all merged together, and it's all a bit weird. If I can figure out how to do it on the Movie Maker editor, I will do so. If I can't, really sorry. I must be able to figure it out. Another thing to mention as well, while we're falling down here as we're coming down, we have 11 messages that come down here. So you click on the first tick that comes up, and it says these are things. So we set the altitude record, and it's given us some money. The next one, these are all the small achievements. Speed record done, altitude done, so these are from the previous missions as well. Altitude records and speed records. Scientific data from Kerbal we've done. I'm going to slow that down as we head towards the surface by using the less than symbol. So we got 61,010 science. That was where the other science came from the other video, the first video, because I wasn't sure where it came from. Another altitude record. And there we go. And then the launching the first vessel, that gave us 5,001 science and 2 reputation. And that's that done, and now we're out of messages, and we are now just heading back down towards the ground at 6.6 meters per second, as you can see here. Now, I think that should be enough to keep us from blowing up, which is great because we'll get more money back because the parts won't have blown up. Obviously, if a part blows up on impact, we can't keep it. However, we are not landing on a flat surface, so we may roll over, which we did, and I managed to... Oh, we didn't! I'm pressing recover vessel. Yeah, there we go. We got away with that entirely. Although I've just noticed that the drivers I've installed for my graphics card have taken away the shadows, which is quite annoying. But there we go. We'll put those back on. So there we go. We have another mission completed. This is a list of all the science that we achieved. 38.9 science from that mission. That's a fantastic amount of science. Very, very happy with that. Didn't complete our mission. Quite annoying, but not the end of the world. We can go ahead and spend the science in the tech tree, and it'll make the next part of our mission easier to achieve. So I think what we'll do is we'll go ahead and do that. But we're on 47 science altogether to spend that. We got 8,418 back at 97.8% value, I think that says. So not too bad, and because we didn't jettison it off, we've managed to keep most of our funds, so our funds have massively increased. Obviously, we were on 25,000, we're now on 237,000. That's pretty nice. Jeb unfortunately didn't earn any experience, but there we go. Okay, so let's get back into research and development, and I'm going to go for general rocketry because it's going to give us a bigger fuel tank, and it's going to give us that engine that I mentioned earlier, and that's 20 science. So we're going to take that one. It also gives us a much larger solid fuel booster, which is wonderful. And then into stability, we need stability for aviation. I'm not going to spend the money on that yet. Although it does give us decouplers there, radial decouplers, which, yes, okay, I'm going to do it because we want the radial decouplers. I will show you what they do next, actually, or I'll use those for the next rocket. So out of there, we're not going to try an orbit curve. We're going to go back into the VAB, and we are going to try again for orbit. For escaping the atmosphere, which should now be relatively simple. We're going to literally just click on that, dump it in there, and it's gone. And then into fuel tanks, and here we go. We have a half decent sized fuel tank, but we also have radial decouplers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a stage that should be, in fact that's probably overkill, that should be plenty of fuel. So we've got some nice fuel tanks. They're back into the engines, and we're going to take the LVT-45, the swivel. This is the one that gimbals. If you look just here to the right now, it says gimbal. It has a 3-degree vectoring range, so we'll have a bit more control over our shuttle as it flies. As we're only going to the atmosphere, I'm just going to try and go straight up to get there. So essentially it's exactly the same module as before. Okay, exactly the same amount of fuel, but now we're going to do something a little different. We're going to go into structural, okay, and here we have radial decouplers, okay. What I'm going to do is, again, keeping it nice and symmetrical, I'm going to press the X key here so that we've got 2 of them. I'm going to attach a radial decoupler to that part there. So as you can see, we've got 2 on the sides. I'm now going to go into engines, and I am going to take the RT10s, 2 of the RT10s, and I'm going to plonk them on the side of them just like that. It takes a little while to snap round, but you can see they're now nicely attached. So what we have here now is a rocket that will, well, it will definitely get into the atmosphere, there's no 2 ways about it. Might not be very sturdy, but it's a rocket with solid rocket fuel boosters, so that's basically 2 engines with their own fuel tanks, and with these decouplers, once these are spent, we can bump them off. They'll jettison off the side of the craft, and this main engine can take over. We'll have gained a lot of thrust from these, okay, and then we lose the mass of them, okay. So I'm going to right click, and I'm going to thrust limiter these to 60, both of them. There's 2 of them. I am worried about how fast this is going to go, but we're going to do it anyway. Because this is the same vessel for the same mission, I am going to rename this one the Mark II and keep it as the Hono Arty. So there's that there. Thrust limited to 6. You know what, I'm going to take it down to 50.5 because that's as close as I can get it. And now we need to see the staging. So at the moment our staging says those two will fire, then they'll couple, then the main engine will fire, and then that will decouple. Not going to do that. What I'm going to do is have the main engine and the solid rocket boosters fire at the same time. And the reason I'm doing this is because, as I mentioned before, this can gimbal, this can help steer. Okay, this exhaust will move and point the thrust at different angles. So having this on with SAS means that the rocket will be able to, in a way, it will help to control our trajectory. Because if it was just down to these and there's a little bit of aerodynamic imbalance or something, we could be all over the place. So having this on with a tiny bit of power will allow us to just stay a little bit more in control. So we're going to go straight back to the launch tower, back in with Jeb again. He is my favourite, he's probably everybody's favourite. Back onto the launch pad, press T to get our SAS on, stability control is on. Throttle, I'm going to leave it just over the first white mark down here. Again, just so that it can help to control us. And we're going to launch in 3, 2, 1, and launch, and away we go. We are going to go massively fast. Massively fast, which could cause some problems. We could break up as we try and escape. The thrust has been limited, nowhere near enough, but as you can see, the fuel of those is running down nice and quickly, but the fuel in the main tank is staying quite strong. I'm going to press M quickly. Oh dear, that didn't work. What happened there? Bit of a bug. Yeah, there we go. Press M again. Our apparatus is shooting up quite nicely, and we still have a lot of fuel in this tank. So they're off. We're going to press the fuel's out. We're going to press spacebar as we're losing things, and they're gone. And we are going to immediately thrust to maximum. We start gaining speed again, all of that fuel left at 10,000 kilometers up in the air, and we're going to come back to the map view by pressing M. Now you can press this little button down here, it was right down here, I'll show you it again quickly, just here, and that will bring up your nav ball. We can see we're nice and strong and you can control the thrust of your ship and everything. The atmosphere, to escape the atmosphere, is just over 70,000 kilometers. So what we're going to do is we are going to burn up to 70,000 kilometers for our apparatus. In fact, we're going to go up to about 80, and I'll show you one in a minute. So I press X now that we've hit 81. Our apparatus starts to fall. We're still, you can't see it there, still just inside that last bit of the atmosphere there. Okay, so we've still got a bit of resistance. So our apparatus will start to fall, but it's falling very slowly. So in a minute we will achieve what we set out to do, and that was escape the atmosphere. So that's that mission completed, which is fantastic. Happy days all round. It'll flash up here in a bit when we get up to that. This is where it all really begins, when you get to this point. Now the way I've launched is not conducive to a very good orbit or anything like that. We will cover that off in the next video. I'm going to try and get us into orbit. But for now, all we've done is complete the first couple of missions. I've shown you a few of the rocket parts, how they work, gone through the staging in a little bit more detail, and come out into the map view to show you what it is. Now, obviously, and see the path of the trajectory. There we go. Look, 70 minutes. Now, I don't know if you can hear that. If you listen very carefully, you start to hear some music. That music tells you that you're now in space. You are outside the atmospheric curtain. It's a very welcome music. It's actually quite nice music as well. I've always been a fan of it. So we're going to wait until we'll time warp until we get to the top of our apparatus, and then as you can see we're moving inland again. We may even move back close to the Kerbal Space Program. We're going to go back, pressing M to the ship, and we're going to complete our experiments again because we're out in space. So I'm going to observe the mystery goo. And yep, there we go, 10 science for that mystery goo, very nice. We're going to observe the materials bay, the science junior, we're going to get that done. That's fantastic. Another 25 science, thank you very much. Right click on there and we'll do another crew report. 5 science, yep, better than nothing, we'll take that, not a problem. We can't do an EVA because we need to upgrade the astronaut complex. So we'll do the other mystery goo as well quickly. I don't think they stack. I'm not sure. We'll find out. It's another 10 science. I don't think we will. That would be 45 science plus their crew report. So somewhere close to 50 science. We'll see what happens. Now, obviously, we've still got liquid fuel left on a craft that is actually the same mass as the original one that we sent up. I'm a little bit concerned that that'll make us quite heavy coming back down again. Do I want to jettison it or not? Let's have a quick check while we're here. We're still in slow mo. We'll click on these and see. So a completion reward for a mini achievement, another mini achievement, 75,000. That's a lot of money. 8 science, 19 reputation, 50,000 for completing the mission. I think we can afford to get rid of them just to be on the safe side. There's probably people right now screaming, "No, don't do it." In fact, it's all about keeping the funds going in the early stage. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try and change how close we end up back to Kerbal Space Program. So facing the rocket from the direction in which it launched, I'm going to press the D key to move the rocket over a little bit. Okay, and I'm just going to hold down the shift a little bit. I'm just going to burn slightly towards Kerbal, just slightly towards the space center, just to try and use up the rest of the fuel and to make us lighter. But obviously, if we can get 99.8% of our money back, then why would we not? So, probably not having a massive amount of effect, or it may even be having too much of an effect. I don't know. It is slowing us down quite nicely. There we go, we're out of fuel. We're out of fuel now, so what we'll do is we'll just reposition that back again. This little green mark here is one of the markers with regards to our propulsion. That is our retrograde marker, and that... Oh, is it the retrograde because we're moving that way? I'm sure that's the retrograde. It looks like the retrograde marker. I didn't deploy the chute, so I should do that pretty quickly, otherwise that's going to cause us massive problems. That was close. Okay, that's those two done. The green marker indicates which direction which we're travelling. There's two of them, prograde and retrograde. Prograde is the forward vector and retrograde is the negative vector, or the, not reverse really, but yeah, positive and negative vectors of the speed in which we're travelling. So that is our retrograde because we are travelling backwards compared to our command mod. I'm sure that's correct. I'm going to time warp this back down to just about, say, 700 meters, just to give the parachutes a chance to open and not be under stress when they do so. We've landed quite close to KSP, so we're going to get all of our lovely funds back. We'll slow that down, we'll zoom out, and the parachute should open any second now. There we go, parachute's all open again, nice and close to the space centre. Not bang on top of it, so we probably won't get it all, but I'm going to time warp all the way back down again. And I've got to change the shadows. I'll do that for the next video. As we head back down towards Kerbal now, and again, I do not like letting it land at full time warp, so we're just going to allow that to drop back down. I think this might be classed as a different biome, and as it's stayed up, I am going to attempt to do an EVA. Yep, there we are, we're EVA'd. I'm going to do a little AVA report, and it'll be... It's the most precarious... Okay, yeah, it didn't get us anything. It's obviously not a different biome, so we're just going to dump that. We didn't get any science for that. So press B to board again, and we're going to recover the rest. And there we have our third mission completed, which was to escape the atmosphere. We earned 50 science on there. Mystery goo. So 10 days of science and science. Okay, so yeah, you can see there that the first mystery goo we did was 10 science. The second one was massively reduced because it was essentially in exactly the same place. I quite like that. I don't think you should be rewarded for just spamming. I've invented a new way of saying spamming. Spamming is the word. I don't think you should benefit from spamming the same experiments in the same places. So that's absolutely fantastic. We'll go ahead and click next for that. Was that 98% value? I think we've got that again. So that's, yeah, not too bad. Most of our funds back. We earned 8,000 funds from recovered parts. In total, we now have 361,000 credits, I guess. I don't know what they're called. It's funds nonetheless. And next, and no XP gain for Jeb again, even though he escaped the atmosphere. Okay, not a problem. Not the end of the world. We'll go ahead and click done there. So yeah, that's the second mission achieved, and that's just showing you how to get up out into the atmosphere and complete the first couple of missions. As you can see, that's 361,000 funds. That's enough to upgrade your VAB, which means you can use more parts, or your landing pad, which means you can have heavier vessels and stuff. In fact, you know what, we're just going to go ahead and do that. We're going to make it so that the vessels we build now can be bigger taller and heavier, which is good. I mean, yes, at the moment we are restricted to 30 parts. It's not easy to make something to go to the moon and back with 30 parts. It can be done. I've certainly done it in the past, but it's a pain. But it's a big expense at the moment. So we're just going to go ahead and upgrade the launch pad for now, so that with those 30 parts we can use big boosters and stuff and get that done. So we're going to go ahead and upgrade that. That's done. As you can see, that's changed how it looks. A nice bigger launch pad. In fact, we'll just have a quick look. Oh no, that doesn't like, does it? Yeah, we'll close that down for now. Yeah, we'll close it down. Okay, yeah, like I said, I'm going to call the video there. I'll try and keep them short. Hopefully I'll be able to record another one. I may even be able to get to do it today, we'll see. But I'm going to go and get this done, uploaded, get myself some food. And yeah, in the next video I plan to cover orbit, which will include gravity turns, a little bit of the science and the physics involved with escaping the atmosphere of Kerbin. And of course it will complete the mission for the mission control. In fact, we'll go ahead. Hey, here we go. Look, lots of missions have become available. I'm just going to take orbit Kerbin for now. We'll accept that mission. And before we solids, I'm reading and trying to talk at the same time. Ben, you knob, sort it out. I'm not new to this at all. Oh Christ. Yeah, so I'll have a quick run through of the missions at the beginning of the next video. We'll build a brand new rocket and we'll head out and see what's going on. Okay, once again, thanks for watching and I shall see you all later.